Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And obviously, it's been a couple days. We just watched the open bracket, which I was broadcasting on my stream. Link in the description down below. And I wanted to do an update for my thoughts on the specializations for PvP, taking into consideration the solo shuffle bracket, because I do think things have mixed up a lot, especially for some specializations. And other specializations are definitely starting to lag behind by a significant margin. And if you want to stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Now, the first specialization is the Affliction Warlock. Warlock in general, I think, is in a weird position because I think that they are struggling actually quite heavily. And this is mostly because Windwalkers are really good, Demon Hunters are really good, Warriors are really good, and now even Ret Paladins are really good. And these types of classes are really tough. Affliction does a lot better when it's more caster DPS. And I just don't really think that's the case. So this might come as a bit of surprise, but I'm actually putting Affliction Warlock on B tier. I think you can get run down in a lot of different situations. Your survivability is very low at the moment, and it can be tough to survive long enough to have meaningful damage in the game. Arcane Mage, on the other hand, I think is really strong because it does exceptionally well into melee DPS, which there are a lot of right now. We're seeing a massive influx of Ret Paladins, which means Mage stonks go up with that as well because they counter Rets. So for me, Arcane Mage is an S tier pick, but it's not very good for beginners. So this is more like you're a moderate to advanced level player. And in that category, I think you can see a ton of success on the ladder. Arms Warrior, I think, is seeing more and more success. I think its main issues are mage lobbies and hunter lobbies, and it's probably the only thing that's preventing me from putting it onto S tier. But I think it does an insane amount of damage at the moment, especially if you're playing Slayer. The execute damage that you can get out is absolutely crazy. And I think that because of the burst damage that you can do, your synergy with a lot of these other melee classes, and typically you're actually a really strong class in melee scenarios, right? So if you get a lobby with a bunch of melee and you're an Arms Warrior, you're generally pretty happy about this. Gives you a lot more advantages than Affliction is currently getting, which is the main reasons that I think that it's currently on A tier. Assassination Rogue, I think, is actually weaker now because Ret Paladin is so good. Ret Paladin is like one of the biggest counters to you as Assassination, especially with Sanctuary, blessing your protection, resetting your biggest cooldowns. This is a tough one for me to rank. I might even leave it for a little bit just so I can see where I'm putting the other rogues to really kind of lock in on this. Balanced Druid, I think, is very similar to Affliction Warlock, maybe slightly better. A little bit more volatile instant burst damage than Affliction, but similarly the survivability is kind of low. You're definitely going to be struggling with a lot of these melee DPS, and I think mostly LE Shaman is the main thing that's going to be making you struggle, but some of the melee DPS can be very difficult to deal with as well, like Demon Hunter when it pops up, even some Warrior specializations. So for me, I think Boomkin is a little bit more in the middle of the pack. It's like you can make this work, but it's going to be more of a struggle. Beast Mastery Hunter, I absolutely think is... I shouldn't have said absolutely if I can't make up my mind right now, somewhere between A and S. I think that you are pretty countered by AoE roots, and Rest of Druid is really popular. LE Shaman is really popular or increasing in popularity. So these specializations can be very annoying to deal with. You can build your talent tree to help get your pet out of roots. I think overall, I want to say that it's got to be S tier. And unlike Arcane, I think it's easier. So I'm going to put it a little bit higher ranked. If it's on the left, I think it's better. So basically top down, best to worst. Left to right is best to worst for its given category. But I think Beastmaster Hunter does a really good overall amount of damage right now. Going to be skipping the tanks for a little bit, although maybe I will rank them this time because I think the tank specs are actually somewhat more viable. Demonology Warlock, it didn't get all of the buffs that came through for it. If it did get all the buffs that came through for it, I would probably put it onto A tier. Demonology is a weird one because I think you're honestly like the best spec into the melee, and having Mortal Strike if you get casters can be really nice. I want to say that you might even be better than Affliction or Destro right now, but it's kind of situational. It's like I almost feel like I need to create another category. I'm going to put it onto A tier right now because I do think Destro is somewhere in here on B tier with Affliction. I think comes into the same problems as far as survivability, getting trained down. But I think Demonology can make things work a little bit better. Mostly due to the crowd control that it has. You have coils and stuns. This can create a lot more win conditions than Affliction can create. Affliction kind of just relies on the game going longer to win. Destro can create scenarios to win. I think the main weakness for Destro is healers spamming Dispel. There's a lot of Holy Priests right now, and they will just spam Dispel on your Immolates and on your Withers and make it difficult for you to ramp. And I think like these specs are very difficult to deal with, and they're really popular at the moment. Whereas Demonology can have a bit of a better time dealing with those classes, mostly because it has multiple schools of magic, a little bit more threatening damage consistently. For sure, I would say it's A if the buffs came through, but it's kind of I could see it being on B as well. Devastation Evoker I think is easily A tier. Devastation Evoker is really good in these melee DPS, and there's a truck ton of them. You just get double cleave. You feel like a god in those situations. Really high overall sustain in a lot of situations. Main downside is rogues. Rogues generally are decently popular at the moment, although Outlaw seems to be trending down overall. But I would say that you're going to have a very good experience on Devastation Evoker. Discipline Priest, I think you guys are still A tier. I think Holy Priest is likely a little bit ahead of you still. Still great sustain damage, great damage reduction, cooldowns, and dampening. Really good kit overall. Seen a couple of Disc Priests trying out Void Weaver in a situation when you can get away with it, where you're not going to be CC'd a lot. It actually can pump out some pretty big numbers. Definitely still a really good pick. Elemental Shaman is an easy one on S tier. It's just overall really durable. It synergizes with almost everything in the game. Really high instant damage output. Very difficult to punish. Has a lot of mechanics that are very annoying for a lot of classes, like the grounding totems and the knockbacks and things like that for melee and casters. It's probably the most well-rounded. Honestly, maybe I should have made a god tier to put Ellie Shaman even a tier above this, because I think it is remarkably strong. We might even shift everything down just to have Ellie on S tier, and then move everything down, because I think it should honestly be on its own tier. Enhancement Shaman, like you're getting slightly better, but I think you still have the same types of limitations where just uptime can be really difficult. You can definitely make it work. It's not that it's impossible to make it work, but I think you're gonna probably struggle on it more than others. I want to spend a little bit more time with Enhanced Shaman to really hone in onto what is going on with it relative to other melee and things like that. But to me, it's like Enhance and Ellie are very similar in terms of what they bring, except Ellie can attack from ranged and Enhance can't. So that's just an inherent limitation, which means your damage output is likely going to be lower in some situations, and you're going to have to expose your positioning a lot more than Ellie, whereas you bring basically all the same abilities, right? The same class, but you have extra limitations that Ellie doesn't. Feral Druid, I think, is still A tier. I think it's maybe a little bit weaker than it was. I don't know if I wanted to put it on S tier or not. In Shuffle, in Shuffle, I think you're kind of susceptible to getting kind of killed a little bit, especially with the burst damage now of like Warriors and Rets that are coming in. I think it can be difficult for you. So this guy, I think, is more fair to bring it down a little bit from where it was. Fire Mage is much like Enhancement Shaman. I think it's just Frost is so much easier to excel on, and it's basically the same spec, except Frost actually snares targets really heavily and has more durability due to that. And I do think that Frost is likely still on S tier, and maybe we will shift everything down once we get through this video, a little bit more through this video. Frost DK, you guys are struggling. Survivability is low. Warriors and Rets are cleaving your guys' face off, and you guys do like barely the same damage in a lot of circumstances. Like you would think if it's a melee meta, Frost would be doing really well, but Frost DK is in such a bad spot that even with multiple melee, I don't think that you're doing that good. So sorry to the DKs, you guys. I'm honestly going to put you guys even lower after what I've seen from DKs. I think Frost DK is definitely struggling. Fury Warrior, I'm slapping onto S tier. I think like it's uptime, it's sustain. It's really good overall, nice ramping, good survivability into casters, unlike Arms. The main difference between Arms and Fury, I think, is Arms will do better in melee. Like if you had double Warrior in a lobby, Fury and Arms, and the other classes are like Rets and Windwalkers, I think the Arms would probably do better in that than the Fury Warrior. It's the only situation where I think it would do better, but I think it's better to be well-rounded. So I'm putting it a little bit ahead of Arms because of that. Holy Priest, I think obviously is still onto the top tier. And maybe, now we can't slide everything down because you DKs are ruining everything. You guys are just ruining everything, man. We can't have nice things because of the DKs. We're going to have to leave it like this. Havoc Demon Hunter, still really good pick. Really well-rounded. I think somewhere in here with Arms Warrior. Just lots of control, lots of DRs, lots of immunities, cooldowns, really good survivability, synergizes well with a lot of classes. It's tough for Demon Hunter to not be at least decent in solo shuffle almost at any point in the game, unless its damage is just like non-existent. Paladin, I'm going to put on B tier. Main reason for this, I think, is mana and survivability. It can be very easy to kill you. Ret Paladins are like your number one counter. Usually when Rets are doing good, it's tough to do well as Holy. And that's the current situation that's been presented. Marksmanship Hunter, see, I think I'm putting too many ranged DPS on S tier because I really want to put Marksmanship on S tier, but it's like we got Arcane up there, we got Frost, we got BM up there. Like, is that too many in S tier, or is the game just like that crazy that like all these specs are S tier at the moment? We're gonna put Marksman up here. I think it just does disgustingly high amount of damage, and that's really the only reason that it's up here. You could just absolutely two-shot somebody with Marksmanship Hunter, and that's going to be really good. That's going to be really good in Shuffle, where people are less coordinated and can communicate less easily with each other. Mistweaver Monk is a hard one. I'm going to leave that for a little bit. Outlaw Rogue is also a difficult one because I feel like if you're good at the game, Outlaw Rogue is really strong, but maybe not so much. Maybe its survivability has actually come down. So maybe I'll only put Outlaw Rogue like here with the Feral Druid and Demon Arc. It's funny is Outlaw Rogue's representation is really low, and I think that's just because it doesn't have any big burst damage. So it doesn't have like that big boom moment where like you can win as a noob player. I think the main reason that's why its representation is so low relative to subtlety, because I think Outlaw is like, actually it's probably pretty close in terms of competitive viability, but I don't want to put it down here even though its representation is low, because there's no way it's bad like Frosty K. I think Outlaw Rogue is doing still really well. Prez Evoker, I'm going to put pretty low here. I think it has survivability issues. It's really susceptible to crowd control. It's going to struggle with the mages. It's going to struggle with the rogues. Maybe it'll do a little bit better now that there's a couple more melee DPS, so they can stack up targets easier for Dream Breath. But generally speaking, I think it's got a lot of limitations, and its output isn't competing with the output of Holy Priest that doesn't have any limitations like it does. Resto Shaman, I don't see this spec anymore. I don't think that it's awful. I don't think any of the healer specs are awful. So I don't think I can put anything below B, but it's like somewhere in here, and it's probably like a lobby dependent spec. If you get lots of casters, I think it can feel really good, but it's going to struggle with the amount of burst damage like warriors and marksman hunters and rets can do. Rest of Shaman just kind of struggles with anything that can crit for over 3 million damage, which is a lot of specs at the moment. It does better when it's like slow damage over time effect classes that kind of just tickle you a little bit at a time. That's where Earthen Wall becomes more effective. So I definitely think Shaman is going to be struggling a little bit more than before. Resto Druid, I'm going to slap up onto S tier. I think it is doing really well. It's got really good output. The tree form immunity with Ancient of Lore is really strong in Shuffle. You can survive like a lot of openers with that. Yeah, Cyclone is still really strong. I think, I mean, maybe it's here, but maybe we'll leave Holy there because, again, I feel like I've got too many. I might have to sort this out. But Resto Druid's definitely a strong option at the moment. And Ret Paladin, where are we going to put Ret Paladin? Where are we going to put Ret Paladin? We're going to leave that because I know you guys really want to know where I think Ret Paladin goes. We're going to leave that as a teaser. That's why they call me the Supatease, okay? We're going to leave that a little bit till later. Shadow Priest, I think, is struggling more now because Warriors are still really good. Windwalkers are still really good. And now Rets are good with them, so they're going to kind of run you over a lot. I think you are still better than this row of casters. I think you're still tankier. So I'm going to put you like somewhere in here. Probably a better experience, though, in Shuffle as Dev, just because the mobility is a little bit better for the melee. Although maybe Shadow's survivability into some of the cast situations could be good as well. But I definitely don't think you're S tier. Survival Hunter and Subtlety Rogue. See, okay, this one's easy because on Holy DK, we just push you down here. I don't think that you're threatening enough for your survivability, and I think a lot of these like classes are absolutely going to crush you. Maybe in a caster situation you could do okay, but even there you don't have Mortal Strike, so you got 3 wizards in your lobby. You don't have Mortal Strike, so it's a little bit rough. I just feel like DK in general needs like a lot of attention, at least in solo Shuffle. In Battleground Blitz, I can see why it's still strong because you got great pad AoE damage. Death Grip is really overpowered. Chains of Ice is really overpowered, but in Shuffle, I think DK's got to be the worst class at the moment. Windwalker Monk, I'm going to slap up here onto S tier with Fury Warrior. I think it's just straightforward, guns down, tons of damage, really solid defense. Main limitations maybe stuns. You know, you don't have a huge amount of stuns, but I think it's just a lawnmower to just mows other specs over. Og, this is going to come as a bit of a surprise, but I think Og is actually a lot better. You know, I was putting Og down here before, but it's also situational. If you fight melee that are stacked up, I think you are the best spec in the game. I think bar none, Augmentation, if you're fighting double melee, is the best spec in the game. You just auto win. It literally one-shots anything that's standing next to each other with how many times they've buffed it. So it's like, it's super underrated, I think, at the moment with how many times it's gotten buffed. So where do we want to put it? Survivability is still really, it's got to be at least A, I think now. Somewhere in here with Shadow Priest. Limitations, if they don't stack up, it can be hard to end the game. But if they do stack up, Og is nasty. It's a nasty boy. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Survival Hunter. This is a hard one. I want to say it's only like B tier. I just feel like it doesn't have enough oomph. It doesn't have enough stuns, you know, by itself. If you get situations with classes that don't stun, you're kind of left open. You know, unlike something like a Demon Hunter has more control in that sense. It's not that it's completely unviable, but I just feel like it's a lot more volatile because you don't have stuns to control the pace of the game. So I'm going to put you on B tier for now. Subtlety Rogue, on the other hand, I think is really good. We're going to put you guys on A tier at least. Just a little cut underneath here. Main problem with Subtlety, other people putting your stuns on DR. that's the main problem because you really need those specific windows. Maybe Subtlety is weaker, honestly, because of Rets being better, though. Maybe I'll put you down here. I'm going to put you on B tier. I could see Subtlety Rogue being a little bit weaker because Rets are good. I think Outlaw's a bit of a better brawler against Ret than Subtlety, and maybe this is going to help me figure out where to put Assassination. Mistweaver Monk. This is a tough one. Again, I think you're still really susceptible to crowd control, but if you can stay ranged, you got some of the best output to deal with the damage that these classes are capable of. Probably like somewhere in here. Maybe we put Prez here or something. Something like that. These guys can compete. Prez is kind of struggling a little more. I watched a lot of Prez Evokers also in the tournament, just getting absolutely destroyed. So I think it's probably more fair to put Prez here. Ret Paladin. Assassination Rogue. I'm going to put Assassination Rogue. I think it's still A tier, but I almost never see it anymore, to be honest. Is it actually A tier still? Assassination is the one that I think I could be wrong about here. So, like, I think A tier is probably a pretty decently safe pick, but with Rets as good as they are, maybe it's not. Maybe Rogue is actually falling off a bit in Shuffle. And then Ret. Where are we putting Ret? Where are we putting Ret? Maybe we put BM down on A tier, best A tier, because I feel like I've got too many guys up here. So BM on A tier. Maybe we even drag Arcane down a little bit, but I don't really want to. I feel like it's really good at the moment. Where is Ret going? See, Warlock viability is like inversely related to Ret viability. Like if Warlocks are stronger, like a little bit tankier, they generally have countered Ret, but they're not tanky enough, I think, to stand up to Ret. So Red's kind of running away from those counter situations. Can struggle with Mage, but I still see it winning lobbies with Mage. I think it's got to at least be A tier now. I feel like it's at least A tier. At least. I want to say like close to the best of the A tier. Let's see. Maybe like somewhere in here with Outlaw Rogue and Assassination Rogue. Definitely close, I think. Okay, so remember this tier list is like top to bottom, right? Top to bottom is best to worst. Left to right is also best to worst. So like Ellie's the best caster, Marksman, Arcane Frost, Fury Windwalker, Holy, right? So it's like left to right is best to worst, and top to bottom is also best to worst, given on their given roles. But this is generally my feelings. I feel like these are the guys that still need like some sort of attention and tuning. These guys could use like a little juice, you know, little juice for these guys down here on the bottom, because otherwise I feel like it's really difficult. It's almost indiscernible to try and identify like what is actually better than the other ones up here, which means the balance is getting really good in that sense. And I think you'll also see it in the tournament for 3v3 this weekend being the same. But those are my thoughts right now on where they are. Again, it's only been a couple of days of the patch, so I'll keep this updated. I just wanted to relay this out to you because there were some pretty big significant changes as far as like where your class might be sitting or what you might be wanting to check out because you weren't keeping up with what's going on and you don't know what alt to make or something like that. So just a little bit of an update for you guys. Thank you guys very much for watching the video. Let me know what your thoughts are as well. Am I totally off base with some of these assessments? Because definitely could be. Maybe Arms Warrior isn't as high, but I feel like it is definitely getting a lot better. Maybe Arms Warrior is like, we'll leave it like this. We've already ran through this. We'll give it a go again. We'll start playing some more alts as well, I think, especially when Conquest uncaps, which I'm expecting is coming with 11.1.5, which Corruption is also coming out, and I don't know what that's going to do to the PvP meta. So once again, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft and you don't miss a beat. And I will see you guys in the next one.